Welcome back, guys. Brad here. Today we're not going to be heading north to the property. We're going to be actually heading east to my hunting property, not to Piney Grove. So you can see I've got the ATV loaded up behind me, and I'm going to turn this camera around and show you what else I've got loaded up to get some work done out on the property. Here's what we got. We got a whole bunch of water. Got a cooler full of water. We got cat litter boxes full of water. We have 5-gallon buckets full of water. So I think I got a good 5 or 6 spray tanks here for the 15-gallon sprayer on back of the ATV. Got my steel weed eater with the brush cutter attachment. We have gas for the ATV. We have gas for the weed eater. We have some generic Roundup or Gly. And then I have my measuring equipment and then some surfactant in there because the new Gly doesn't have surfactant in it. So I'm all loaded up and I'm ready to make that 1-hour trip east to the hunting property. All right, folks, quick stop in Weewa Outdoors. And I got my seed. I got my wheat and my oats and my rye, and I got 3 bags of corn. So headed to the property now. All right, we're coming in the middle of the lease, right down the center. This is the road I mainly use to come into the property, but we'll come up here to the center and unload this 4-wheeler and get ready to start spraying. Just like at Piney Grove, I plan a lot of things and then I don't necessarily get them all done because I run out of time. But it's noon, and what I mainly want to get done is get my 2 1-acre plots sprayed, and then get this 1 acre behind me, the community plot, get that thing sprayed as well, and just get all that all those weeds and anything that's green in there just burn off real good so that we can plant. I'm going to talk about my sprayer here. This is a FIMCO sprayer. It's a very popular model of sprayers out there, and this is the model number that I have. I can pretty much do an acre with this sprayer. It has a integrated boom with 2 nozzles, one here and one there, and they put out droplets. It doesn't put out a fine spray, so that way you don't get as much wind drift, and it'll do a little bit wider than the track of the ATV. Okay, getting suited up here for the Florida sun. The bad thing about having your wife edit your videos is she can see what you do out in the woods. I gotta put on my safety equipment. Not that I shouldn't, but I won't say that I always do it. So I've got 2 types of generic Roundup here. The active ingredient in Roundup is glyphosate, or however you say it. But this one's 41% and it has surfactant in it. And this one's 53.8% and it doesn't have surfactant in it. But it really doesn't matter the percentage of Gly that's inside of your concentrate. What matters is the percentage that's in here. And I'm looking for a 2% solution. So it's about, I read the instructions on the 53 this morning, and it's about 2 ounces per gallon, just a little bit short of 2 ounces per gallon. So 15-gallon tank, 30 ounces of the 53, and probably 32 ounces of the 41 will get me the same kill rate or burn rate on the weeds. I did bring some surfactant. I had some sitting in the garage. I hope it's still good. And surfactant is just something that breaks down the oil on the leaf structure. And a lot of times you can spray Gly or spray Roundup and you don't have to worry about that waxy substance because a lot of grasses and weeds don't have that. But I do have some grasses here on the property that do have some waxy substance on their leaf, so that'll help break it down. Okay, so I put the chemicals in the tank. I went ahead and used the 53% Gly, and I added surfactant, so I've got that in the tank. I got the tank on recirc, so it's bringing the water from the bottom, pushing it to the top, and just recirculating that. It's mixing up well. Now I'm just going to fill it with water. All right, so it's full of water. I got 15 gallons in there. I'll let it circulate, and it'll circulate as I go to the pot. All right, I think we're ready to spray. So this is a close-up of what I'm dealing with. These are what's called sedges, and it's a really, really thick grass. You can just see how thick it is, and a disc harrow will not chop this up. You can run over this and over this and over this, and it just won't chop it up, and you'll just waste your seed and your fertilizer trying to grow something here. So that's why I'm doing this chemical burn. I've got to burn this off the best I can. The hope is in 2 weeks you'll come back here and this is dry and crispy, and it'll be more like, you know, this thatch right here. And the disc can work with that, or the rototiller behind the tractor can work with that if it's not too much, but it can't do anything with this. It'll just bind up any kind of mechanical tillage. Okay, I'm in one of my main plots. I call this plot T-cell, and I don't have a viewfinder, but I'm sure you can see in the background there's greenery, and I had bush hogged this 2 weeks ago, and there's little stuff coming up. You know, you cut off the tops of grass and the roots are still there, so that's what I'm trying to burn off. All right, to make this easier on myself, I'll take this section towards that condo and I'll spray that separately from how I spray this side. This is over an acre and it's very irregular, so I'm not going to be very efficient with my spraying. There's going to be some overlap and there'll be some skips. Okay, so I got one tank sprayed out. I only filmed this portion back here, but I did a lot of the side little plots and the edges. So I'm gonna go refill the tank, and then we're gonna do this long stretch here behind me. That should only take 1/3 to half a tank, and then I'll work on another little plot in another area. All right, filling up tank number 2. I'm gonna finish spraying this plot. I've got this big area to do here. I've done the edges. I'm gonna set up the camera, capture some of that, and then move on down the line to the next plot. Okay, so I feel like I got good coverage. I guess I'm putting out 5 or 6 foot wide, so I wanted to do like 5-foot paths. It's much more important to me that I totally kill this vegetation here to make it easier for planting, but also so I don't create a strain of weed that's resistant to chemicals. But that does it for this plot. Probably put out about 1.5 tanks. A little bit more than I expected, but the tank should do about 1 acre. But when you have all this irregular plots with these little dog legs here and there and all the edges, it's just not an efficient way to spray as opposed to a 1 square acre. I think I got a good burn here. We'll see in a couple weeks, but regardless, that's as much spraying as I'm gonna do. The next step will be planting on this plot. Okay, I just knocked out this little micro plot. It's about a 1/4 acre plot. It used to be a logging deck. So it's part of a 3-plot series I have in this hunting area. And I can't see this plot from my condo. And I used to be able to till it got too thick, but it was never close enough really for a shot. But what I've done is I've created another area where the deer can feel safe, where they can feed. And this is kind of like one of those gentleman's plots where the deer don't come out into this plot till about 10 o'clock. Like from 10 o'clock till 2 p.m., you'll see deer in this plot when I have a camera set up, or maybe I'm rolling through feeding, filling up my feeders in my other plot. But they feel safe in this plot. There is some rutting action here. And if I ever wanted to hunt it, I could by climbing one of these bigger pines. But I just use it as a nutritional source for the herd, something to keep the deer in this general area, a place where they can feel safe. It can't really be seen too much from the road, and it's a woods road there. It's not a highway. It's a logging road. So anyway, a small plot here specifically to feed the deer. It's been sprayed. It's ready to plant. That does it for tank number 2. I went around the edge of this plot. I did some of the irregular areas, and I just left kind of this core hook right here to do. So I'll go back, I'll fill up one more tank. I got the big plot on the other side of the road, and then my two hunting areas will then be done. I'm gonna hit the community plot, I think, and then maybe a plot for one of the other members. It just depends on how much water I have. We control about 1,200 acres here, and people may ask, why do you own Piney Grove but then you pay for a hunting lease? It's because I could never own 1,200 acres, and there's a huge difference between the recreation, the solitude, just that feeling of being in the wilderness or in the wild on 12 acres versus 20 acres next to someone else that has 20 acres next to someone else that has 40 acres. So that's why I remain on this lease. It's a kind of an escape. You can get away. It's much more quiet out here. You really can't hear any paved roads from here. And plus we're locked in at a fairly low rate because we've been with the company so long. They are not increasing the rates on their legacy members, I guess. So anyway, 2 square miles. It's a lot of recreation. You can shoot out here. You can ride 4-wheelers. We have a massive road system. You can ride 4-wheelers for hours and not get bored. So anyway, back to it. Now, tank number 3 coming up, and that should do it for my plots. Okay, I didn't think I'd have enough spray for this field, but the thickest part of the grass is right here in front of the camera behind me on the 4-wheeler. It's real thick. That grass has been spreading from the edge over. You can see it stops up there where it starts to get sandy. So there's no need to spray where the tiller will mechanically incorporate that, the little bit of greenery that's there. So I'm not worried about that binding up the tiller. This has a lot of thatch from where I bush hogged 2 weeks ago. I can see it starting to break down. Now I'll burn, with today's chemical burn, I'll burn this greenery, and then that'll start to break down, and it'll make it so much easier to till this and make it that much more weed free going into the spring next year. All right guys, as normal, things take longer than I thought. So I put out, I think 5 tanks of Gly. I'm not sure exactly. I did my plots, I did the joint plot, and I did another joint plot. And I did 2 of a fellow lease member's plot because he doesn't have a sprayer or an ATV. And I already had the water in the Gly out here. So I just hit him up by text and said, hey man, you owe me a gallon of Gly for my efforts. It's 4 o'clock. I wanted to be on the road already, but I do want to get cameras out and get some corn on the ground just to get the deer used to coming into the plots again. So today we got some spraying done, a lot of spraying done. and we put out some cameras, put out some corn, and just in general got ready to plant these food plots. So this beautiful picture behind me, there's a little bit of clover in there. It's mainly grass, but coming up will be the actual seeding of this plot and tilling that seed in and getting a nice firm seed bed. And then 2 weeks after that is when these plots just really look amazing. But hopefully you enjoyed this content. Hopefully you like this sort of thing. This is what our channel is all about, is country living. I got the hunting lease. We got the 20 acres that we're turning into a homestead. I plan to take you all along on some hunts. We'll see plenty of deer. I'll get plenty of footage of that. But then we're just going to probably edit out anything after the boom. You know, 90% of the hunt is all the things that lead up to the trigger pull. So anyway, if you like this content, please share it with your friends. We're trying to grow our channel. We'd really appreciate a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Y'all take care.